All right guys, so here she is. This is the Rumble Motors Mighty Apex. That's what they call this bike. So I'm doing this video review after riding this bike for about 2 weeks solid and having a blast at it. I think I probably only put like 50 miles on it or so because I got so many bikes that I've been trying to ride and review. But you guys are probably watching this video because you guys want to know more about this before you think about putting your pre-order in. The next pre-order is going to go for October and November release date. And the cool thing is, after I did my video kind of riding this thing around, they actually dropped the price of this thing. So now you only have to pay half the price up front, which is $1,700, and then it's $3,400 in total, and you get the bike exactly like this. Now before, the bike was $3,400, then it was an extra $400 to get this extra battery, which is a 5220 amp hour. So that gives you 40 amp hours in total if you wanted to do that option, but that was an extra $400. Then this whole carbon fiber was an extra $500. And now the bike is shipping free to 48 states in America, free shipping, and now it is $3,400. That is badass. You cannot go wrong. This is $200, actually no, $100 more than the Aerial Rider Grizzly, and this is way cheaper than a Super 783R or RX. So you can't go wrong with this bike. This thing is dope as hell. You got two motors, front and back. They're both 1,000 watts, so you're getting 2,000 watts of power. They do have a higher peak, but I don't know what the actual peak of them is. The bike feels great. It does kind of hop around a little bit. That's something I noticed. But what I really want to do right here is I don't want to sit in front of the camera like too long. I want to bring you in here with the camera and I want to walk you through each thing on this bike so you guys get an idea close up of what they put on this bike, what's the pros and what's the cons. So let's just get into that right now before I bore you guys sitting here and talking in front of the camera the whole time. All right, so I brought you guys out here where the sun can really show the beauty of this e-bike, because if you guys don't see this bike outside, you just don't know how nice it is. And in my garage, you just cannot tell. So just a quick walk around of the bike. You see that carbon fiber. The bike is actually on right now. You can see the tail lights on. Gorgeous as heck. And when the light's not actually shining on it, you can't really see the carbon fiber as much, and it looks kind of dark and black, like a black side panel. But it's lovely when the sun is hitting it. Also right now we have, I believe, the low beam on, or maybe the high beam, I'm not sure, but you have a low beam, high beam, and a flashing beam. But yeah, this is gorgeous. Super, super gorgeous. All right, so after you've seen a walk around the bike, let's kind of start in the front and kind of work our way around the bike so you guys can see up close what we're working with. So you have your grips. They're pretty thick on this side. They're not thin. Not something I really like, and they do feel pretty cheap. It's not something I really prefer, but when you have gloves on, you don't really feel it. Right here, you have the front motor, rear motor, or dual motor. So those are your settings. If you do put it in front wheel drive, then the bike will have a little bit of a stutter. In rear wheel drive, it's not as bad. And then in dual, if you do hit it at a 0 mile per hour, like straight on, you just full throttle it, make sure you kind of lean back with the bike so you can let the front tire spin. Because if you do not let the front tire spin, it does have a little bit of a hiccup getting up there from like 0 to 3 miles an hour. It kind of hops all over the place and kind of falls on its face a little bit, I guess you could say. I have a race video with the Rev 1. You guys can check that out on my YouTube channel. Right next to that, we're gonna have our power, and then you have your set. This gets into your settings, and then up and down arrows to go through your pedal assist. Going back to this really quick, this is your turn signals right here. So you have your left, and in the middle, and then you have your right. I did think it was kind of funny that the middle doesn't line up with the little diagram. I feel like the diagram should have been over here, or the button should have been a little bit over here, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just something I noticed when I first got on it. I thought it was always on the right-hand side because it's so far onto the right. You have your horn right here. Pretty loud. I don't really like to use it too much because it is very loud unless necessary. The handlebar setup is great. I love it. Not too bad. You can see mine did come damaged. I've seen a lot of other people's handlebars getting damaged as well during shipment, so hopefully they fix this issue. I love the display, nice and clean. I do feel like the display is a little low on the bike. I feel like when I'm trying to see my mile per hour, I'm looking down a lot. But I can understand why they did that, because if you do flip up the bike and you crash it, this is definitely not going to hit the ground first. All this stuff on the side is going to hit the ground before that. So I kind of understand, but you guys can flip the mounting bracket and then take the screws off of this and flip it if you want, so then it would actually sit like way up here, but it'll be facing you, so you could do that as well. And then over here, I don't know why this is red. This is the headlight button. I feel like the horn button should have been red, and this should have just been black. But anyway, this is how you turn your high beams on, low beams, and then you have a flashing light as well. Then you have a 7-speed right here. Mine was broken. If you guys can see, this little part right here snapped off, so they're gonna send me a new one. Those are the two things that got damaged in shipment, was this and that. So that's pretty much it on the bike for shipment. Talking about shipment real quick, everything came assembled on this bike. The batteries were in there, the front tire was on, the headlight was on. The only thing I had to personally put on was the handlebars. So I had to put this bracket on. There's 4 screws. I will say it's a little hard to get to because of how this is. It's really in the way, so you might want a long Allen to go down through here. It wasn't too bad, but once you get it set up, you're good to go. And then you guys can see the front with the headlight on right now because it's just chilling. One of the issues I had when I first got this bike was the fenders. Now the fender was hitting this top part right here. Now they do have a foam pad right in here, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but you guys can put another foam pad that's thicker right here if you want. All I did is basically bend this bracket up, because you can kind of move the headlight bracket up and then you're good to go. It's not going to make any more noise. Another thing is too, when you do turn this bike, it does come very, very close to these wires. So you could try to bend this if you want, but if you bend it too much, pushing it down this way, then it comes in contact with this. So I've noticed that this setup right now, the way I have it, is perfectly fine for me. I'm not a big fan of the whole bracket they put in the front, and that's just because I don't know, look at the gap that you have right there. Like, it looks good from the front. You see the bike from the front, that looks so cool, I love it. But up here, the thumb screws are what actually moves, and I probably have these on here super tight because I don't want my headlight to move, but that's how you basically slide your headlight back and forth to get the angle of the headlight on the road on how you want it. I'm not a big fan of it. I would have liked to seen a different bracket. I did talk to RJ. RJ said that he was thinking about doing a big like 7-inch or 8-inch headlight on there, so maybe we'll do something like that in the future. Another thing is too, these lights are badass. They are absolutely insanely bright, but I don't feel like they should have went up and down. I feel like that does give some cool looks to the bike, but I feel like they should have been on the sides, because then that would have made the headlights a lot wider on the road, because they're very bright in the straight line, but you can't see like off to the dirt and stuff like that when you're riding in the bike lane. Another thing is there's only turn signals on the back, not the front. I talked to RJ about this as well. He said it'd been very simple. All they would have had to do is drill a hole right here. The wiring's already ran. Put a little hole right here, have a little, you know, turn signal come out to here. You're good to go. All the wiring's there. You just have to do it. But there are no actual dedicated turn signals in the back either. It runs off of this tail light, which another thing about this tail light is it does not get brighter. It just flashes when you use the brakes. And when your turn signal is on, your brake light disappears. So it only shows a turn signal when you're holding the brake. So that's why I would have liked to seen dedicated like turn signals. And you have these little mounting spots right here. I mean, they did run the cable right through here, but you could have put a turn signal right here and then a turn signal right there. And I feel like it would have been perfect just to come out to here. But yeah, so those some minor things. Some other things that you're gonna notice on this bike as riding is you're gonna get a vibration, kind of like the Onyx RCR, if you guys are familiar with that bike that's been around for a while. There's vibration on these panels because if you look, I mean, they're really just sitting on the aluminum frame underneath. So sometimes on the motor RPM, as you're moving up, you can hear it kind of like have a vibration to it. But it's not that big of a deal to me. I don't mind it. Another thing that RJ told me is that the people that pre-order it for the end of this year, you're not gonna have your VIN number right here. He said they messed up when they shipped these. That's the reason why I kind of got this for free, the carbon fiber piece, because they messed up on drilling it. If you come underneath here, which we got some cool stuff to show you under here, the VIN number is actually supposed to go right here. Another spot that I think would be cool for the VIN number is maybe like right in here on this little section. But if you want it to be hidden and you don't want a cop to maybe pull you over and be, hey, this has a VIN number, it's not registered, maybe it would be better, you know, putting it under here. I like the fact that you do have a handle on this bike, so if someone needs to grab your bike, if their skateboard dies or their bike dies, or you need to tie a rope to it, you have this. It's easier to move it too, so if you need to move this as well, picking it up from the back is easy. Here is your kill switch. This kill switch goes to each battery. So something that you guys probably don't know about this bike either is it only runs on one battery at a time. So that kill switch only goes to one battery at a time. So you don't have to turn both of these batteries on at the same time. You just turn one on, flip the kill switch that goes to that one battery, and you're good to go. If you flip the wrong kill switch, it will not activate. It will just not pop on. So then you'll know, oh, it's the other kill switch. And then when you ever want to go to the other battery, you just turn that kill switch off and flip the other one over. So that's kind of cool, but at the same time, I don't like to see the batteries run down at the same time, but it is what it is. Now, I do like the shock in the back. It looks beautiful. I feel like this bike is so gorgeous the way it is. This is a Spider Tribute, and I think everyone is going to be getting the Spider Tribute. I don't think they're going to have any other color schemes, because the yellow seat that they were putting on these that people were ordering, they look like garbage. I feel like the nice little yellow accents they did was perfect. You have metal fenders as well. I would have liked to seen them put like attachments right here that screw on like down here, because there are holes right there. So it would have held it in place a little bit better instead of flopping around. But I will say this does not make any noise. It's not coming in contact with the tire. No issues with it. I would have just liked to seen it a little bit more sturdier. That's all. And then down here, here's your 7-speed right here. I haven't had an issue with it. It's Shimano, like all other companies are using. You do have foot pegs right here, so that's kind of cool. I don't know if you're going to be putting someone on it. I stood on them. I'm 165 to 170 pounds, and I didn't have a problem standing on them. But the seat isn't wide enough to put 2 people. Maybe if you moved all the way up and maybe you had your kid on the back, or maybe you put your kid in the front, maybe you put your feet in the back and you're not going to pedal, then, you know, that's fine. But something that's bad about this bike is pedaling it. I actually removed the sensor for the pedal assist because it is garbage. You're either going to love it or hate it. So it is so instant. Now, let me show you. So I'm not going to be riding it with it on. I'm not turning it on anymore. But if you barely move the pedal this much, I'm serious, like this much, and you're not trying to, and maybe you have one hand off the bike, you're coming to a stop and your feet barely move like this, it instantly activates. Now, I've always wanted a bike that the pedals worked instantly, but when you have this much torque from the front and the rear motor, this thing takes off so fast that you actually almost drop the bike. I am not kidding. It's not fantastic at all. So RJ said that he is shipping everyone that orders one of these bikes, you are gonna get a dongle, and I guess it's an update tool. It's gonna plug into this little cable right here, I believe. He said it's super simple to do. So you disconnect this. I'm pretty sure this is the one he's talking about, or it's gonna be the other one going over here. And basically it will plug into this, it will update this, and then this is connected to the controller, so it's going to update everything, and then you'll have new software on there. And I think that's a pretty cool idea. It's kind of like Super 73 does, Bluetooth over the iPhone or Android, and you can update your bike to fix some issues on it. And a lot of people said that's not good, because then that means my bike came and it's not even ready to ride yet. They haven't even finished the software, and that's not true. Your iPhone and all that kind of stuff is the same way. So I feel like that's not a big deal to me. Like, your iPhone updates every like 2 months or so. They fix bugs on it. And I feel like having a bike that you can fix some issues with it would be pretty sick. So that's my take on that. Now, as I walked around this bike, you might have noticed that there is a little light right here. And I had to ask RJ what this was also. I was like, why is there just a random light right here? Was this supposed to be like a turn signal and wrap around something? And he said it's a light to let you know that the bike is still on. I was like, okay, that makes sense, because when you have the batteries on and you turn the bike off with the display, so when you hit the power button on here and you turn it off, you'll think the bike is completely off, but it's not. So what you want to come down here and you want to hit the kill switch. So if you just come down here, oh, so see, this one's not the activated one. The red one is the activated one. So hit that, and now the bike is off. If I want to turn the bike back on, I got both batteries on, so I can just flip this blue one if I want. So that's pretty cool. So that's why that light's on in the front. It's to let you know that the bike is still on and activated, so you don't let it sit there overnight and everything's on and running. All right, so I flipped the bike around because I'm gonna try to attempt to take these batteries out without taking the side panel off, because I'm really curious to see if you could take them off without taking the carbon fiber off. I think you should be able to. I think it's gonna be a little bit of a pain compared to a normal bike that doesn't have it. But I'll take the carbon fiber piece over not having anything, because that's what makes this bike. But before I do that, I want to show you one con of the bike, and that is your turning radius. So let me step back a little bit so you can see that. That's all the turning radius you got. So it's not great. And you'll notice that the carbon fiber is actually cut right here, and that's because they had to put these little pieces right there, and they covered them with some little, looks like little vacuum lines, like caps you put on a car. Those slide over. I would probably super glue these underneath so they don't pop off, because they come off so easy. I don't want to lose them. But that's what stops the whole bike from collapsing on itself, because if it wasn't there, this would run into the carbon fiber and you would break the heck out of it. So, I mean, I like the simple touch that they did that, but the turning radius just blows on this bike. All right, so I brought the keys with me so we can unlock these batteries and everything like that. But one thing I want to let you guys know is you got 4 keys. So you got 2 for one battery and you got 2 for the other battery, so that's great. Now they do have numbers on them. So this one says 266 and this one says 046, so that's not the right one. So this one says 046. So this is the key that we use for this battery. So I'm going to attempt to do this. We'll just see how it happens. I'm trying to do this on camera for the first time ever. I should have practiced this before I tried this. Oh. Oh. Okay. Oh yeah. There we go. All right, so I did get it out. So you'll definitely be able to get this one out too, because now that you have more room, this one's probably gonna slide up, I believe, and then you can definitely have enough room to get these both out. So you do not have to take these panels off to get these batteries out. 1040 watt hours, so you're getting a bunch of range out of this bike. Absolutely insane. Ooh, now the hard part is remembering that how you took these off, because one key is on this side and the other key's on the other side. So to take the other one out, you got to go to the other side, and then you're still gonna have to probably pull it from this way because you have your chain ring on that side. So let me put this back in here gently. Make sure they're on there. I'm not kidding when I say that. You definitely don't want to have your batteries popping out and rolling all over the place, but I'm glad I tried that, because now you know it's easy to take these out, just not as easy as some other bikes on the market. So now I want to move on to one of my favorite parts of this bike other than the carbon fiber. I can't stop looking at it, so gorgeous. It's these brakes. I talked to RJ about them. He asked me how I felt about them. I said, honestly, these are probably the best brakes I've ever felt on an e-bike. These are even better than the Talaria XXX brakes. These are fantastic. I love the fact that you can see the fluid through them. They're hydraulic. They feel absolutely phenomenal in the hand. These are so good. Now they're only 180 millimeter rotors. I know a lot of people said online they look small, and they definitely do look small in the pictures, but they are basically the correct size on most of these e-bikes that are coming out. The Rev 1 has the same exact size of a rotor, but check this out. These are almost as thick as the Onyx RCR. Not as thick, but they're close. Most of these e-bikes have very thin rotors, and these are pretty thick, so the stopping power on these things are absolutely insane. I am not a fan that there is no adjustments on the front, so you have no preload adjustment, no lockout, no compression, no nothing. There's nothing that you can adjust on these shocks, so I was a little bit disappointed in that. So that's kind of a downside to me on this bike, but not a deal breaker. Now RJ told me that there are 3 screws to take this side panel off, and I'm not going to do it out here because I didn't bring any tools, but you would take this thumb screw off right here. You would take this off right here, which is also connected to the other side with a little elastic band. I'm not exactly sure what that is, a little metal bracket. And then you would take this off. That's all you have to take off, because this is actually bolted to the carbon fiber, so you don't have to worry about this. But just those 3, this one, and this one, and do the others for the same side, and this whole clamshell will basically just pull off the bike. He said the only reason you're not going to take these off is because these basically just connect this middle piece. That's all it does. So we're probably going to take this off, and I'll probably post a picture up on my Instagram and stuff, so you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you guys can check that out, because I definitely want to see how the controllers and everything look like here. But they are 25 amps each. That's what I was told by RJ. So you have 2 controllers, 25 amps each. Not too bad. I would have liked to seen maybe 30 amps, but he said they tried 30 amps and it wasn't too much of a difference, so it wasn't really worth it. He said the controllers are pretty cheap anyway, but they just didn't notice a huge improvement on power by using 30 amp compared to 25 amp. But the more amps, the better to me, but you will lose more range as well. But I feel like with 40 amp hours, you're set. All right, so enough talking. I'm pretty sure my hair is all jacked up because I have my helmet on. But let's go ride this bike a little bit. Let's pill out. Let's go do some 0 to 35 tests and just have a blast with it. If you guys want more footage of me riding, definitely go check out my older videos, because I definitely have more content on this bike than I'm going to show right now. But this is just kind of a close-up and overview of the bike. So let's just go have a little bit of fun right now, and then we'll end the video. All right, so there's a sequence to turn this bike on. So the first thing you got to do is turn the battery on right here, or you can just leave it on 24/7. It does have a little green light that's always lit up. So I would turn it off, especially if it's in your garage, you're going to notice it. Then you got to come underneath the seat, feel with your hand, whatever hand works. You'll get used to it over time. And you got to flip the right switch on. You could tell by the little thing coming on in the front. I didn't flip the right one on, so there we go. So the rear one is the front battery and the front switch is the rear battery. So it's kind of backwards. And then let's get on the way. We got to turn this bike on using that. 54.5 volts on one of the batteries. And let's get out of here and go ride. Woo! That's what I'm talking about, baby. Power. Power. Watch out, squirrels. God, man, this bike is so fast. Absolutely a blast. I love this thing. All right, we're at our designated spot. We're actually doing this backwards. Normally I start at the other side, but we're gonna start on this side. We're gonna do a 0 to 35 and just see how it is. We're gonna use throttle only. I do not have the pedals connected at all, so we're not gonna be doing a pedal test. And honestly, I just suggest if you guys buy this bike, disconnect the pedals right away. There's a sensor underneath the little chain ring right here. Super simple to do. Just unplug it. You're good to go. You won't have to worry about this bike whiskey throttling with your feet barely moving. So anyway, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Whoa, yeah. 20, 25, 30. Yes, we are moving. 35. We're still going. Yeah. So we're obviously not at 58.8 volts, which is a full charge on a 52 volt e-bike. So we're probably down to, I don't know what that would be. I'm trying to think. And I ran over a frog right now. I was trying not to run over it, but it was already dead. But we're still hitting like 36 or so, but I have hit 38 to 39 miles an hour. But unfortunately, I have never seen 40. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, can you reach 40 miles an hour? And the only way I've been able to do 40 is going downhill, like on an overpass or something. So, but it never gets old pilling out with this bike. But just keep in mind, you're probably gonna be ordering front tires for it a lot if you're gonna be doing what I'm doing right now like this. It's great. It's so fun. But let me show you if I put more of my weight forward. So if you're a bigger guy and you're leaning over the bike like this and you hit it, I wanna show you how jerky this bike is. So let's go. Did you guys see that? It's probably hard to come off the GoPro, but it was definitely like hesitating because it didn't know what to do. Now you get a lot of that when you use just a front motor as well. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, front motor only. See that? Look at all that. I would not use the front motor only at all. The only time I'd use the front motor is if I wanna, I don't know, I'm already doing the speed and I wanna switch to it. That's the only time I would do it. I would never use the front motor to start out with this bike because I feel like you're gonna mess up the front motor. Now let's get onto this other pass so I can show you guys the rear wheel drive. All right, so rear motor only. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. See, it still has that hesitation to it. So it's just something you gotta get used to. Now you can get around that a little bit if you're a little bit easier on the throttle. Now I am in power mode and I am in the highest pedal assist, so maybe if I do drop it down to like 2 or 3, it's gonna pick up a little bit better. But let's see if we kind of regulate the power a little bit to see if it gets any better, like taking off. No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't. It was definitely shaky as hell. Let's go down to pedal assist 2 and see if it got better. Oh yeah, okay, so on pedal assist 2, it got better. There's just no power there. No power at all. Oh, okay, 3 felt very nice. I'll give that to it. If you want to use it in 3 with 1 motor, let's see if we go to the front motor and go pedal assist 3. Let's see how if it hops or not. Oh yeah, don't even use it. But if we go back into dual motor, even on pedal assist 3, this bike picks up like it's supposed to. RJ was telling me after our 2-hour-long conversation that it's made to be operated in a dual drive setup. But if you do want to save some battery, you can put it on a rear wheel drive, but he doesn't suggest front wheel drive for starting off. And that kind of makes sense. The front is really just when you want to put it in dual drive, you want a front motor, but it's not really good just to put in the front motor only. You might have some issues with the front motor doing that. Trust me. Just use the rear one at all times if you want to save battery, or start off in dual motor, and then once you get going, then you can maybe flip the switch. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. You can do it whatever you want. It's cool that you do have options to change whatever you want. You can also come into the settings, which is very hard to see. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to show it to you guys very well. I don't know how well my GoPro is gonna catch this, but hold the set button, then you go into like general settings. You got your trip to clear, your brightness for the display, speed limit set to 99. Wheel speed is at 22 miles an hour. I haven't had any issues with discrepancies from a GPS. Battery is 52 volt. My mode right now is in power mode. So you can go to normal and you can go to eco. So I have it in power mode. I want the most power I can get out of these controllers. Then here's your advanced settings. You can change your limit. You can go from 10 to 18 amps. I don't know if that's just for the controllers or what. He did say there are 25 amp controllers, but I don't know if they're being used at their full potential. I don't know exactly why it limits you to 18 amps. Assist, I can go down to 5. I don't know why I had mine at 6. You can set a password for this bike as well if you want, but I don't ever set passwords just in case I forget them or have an issue. With so many, like, there's a kill switch, then you gotta, do this, you gotta turn the battery on. There's so many ways to turn this bike on that you have to do a sequence, kind of like the Talaria XXX. I wouldn't be too worried about setting a password on this bike. No one's really gonna know that you have those switches underneath. But anyways, I'm gonna go back up to 5 and get the most power out of this bike, and we're gonna pull that out of here. Woo! Let's go, baby, let's go! That's like getting in a Tesla for the first time, man. As soon as you hit it, where's this guy going? Where are you going, buddy? Alrighty. As soon as you hit it from a standstill, man, it feels like no other bike out there. It feels so good. I said it in a few videos back when I rode this bike. Actually, it might have been the last video now that I think about it. It definitely takes off just like a Talaria XXX, maybe up to like 15 miles an hour. Then after that, the Talaria XXX just takes over. But that's really not an e-bike. So I really can't compare this to that bike. You really have to compare this bike to an Aerial Rider Grizzly. That's the only bike in this class that has a dual motor setup. That's it. I don't think of any other dual motor setups unless you're doing it yourself. So this bike feels nice and good on the road, a little stiff to my liking, but you do have adjustments in the back. I think you can air the shock up if you want. It had a little a port on it. I didn't really mess around with it too much, but you can do some stuff to it in the back. But overall, the way it ships out, it is definitely stiff for me. But if you're over 200 pounds, you actually might have better luck with this bike than I am. But I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a little bit of rattle, coming from the panels every so often. Not that big of a deal, especially the way this bike looks. I'll take the rattles. I mean, I do like to have a very quiet bike, but as long as a fender or anything bad isn't rattling, I can deal with that a little bit. And honestly, if you really want to, just get some fabric tape or some foam pads and put them underneath the carbon fiber wherever it's touching the aluminum frame, and then you're good to go. I mean, yeah, you gotta kind of DIY some other stuff, but I mean, hey, this bike is worth it. The way this bike looks, you're not gonna beat it for the price. I know a lot of people are gonna say this bike is expensive, and yeah, it is. Aerial Rider Grizzly expensive. Super 73 bikes are expensive. But what bike gives you dual motors and dual batteries, 40 amp hours, has real carbon fiber on it? I'm gonna say that over and over and over and over. Brake check. Oh man, these things. God. If you guys know someone that has this bike, because there's only a limited amount of these, you gotta try it out and feel these brakes. They're absolutely fantastic. Brake test. Yes. Oh, my headlight was on flashing mode. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that, but see how we switch it? So now the bottom one's flashing, and then the top one's flashing, and then now we're just back to our regular light. So I'm not exactly sure why they put a flashing feature on there, but let's get on to the DSLR camera again. All right, let me put my hat on because my hair is messed up. I'm sweating all over the place. This is bad. This is a bad look right now. I gotta go take a shower. But you guys probably already know what I think about this bike, and I don't work for RJ. I just want to let you guys know I do not have any association with Rumble Motors. He reached out to me to kind of explain the bike a little bit because he knew I was going to be reviewing it, so he kind of wanted to go over it and kind of tell me some stuff. And also, I had my own questions for him because I was like, how does this work? How does that work? I would have never found out that both of these batteries weren't connected. They run off separate switches. They run down separately. I would have never known that unless I asked him. And then I didn't know about the two switches, that one switch went to one battery, the other switch went to the other battery. I didn't know that. And just today I found out that the rear switch goes to the front battery and the front switch right here goes to the rear battery. So something I'm learning every day. So there's a lot of stuff to know on this bike, and I didn't know the amps on the controllers either because RJ's website on Rumble Motors, they have nothing that says anything about this bike. So hopefully my video helped you guys understand that 1,000-watt motors, 2 of them, the controllers are 25 amps, badass headlights. It's a great bike. I showed you some of the cons and all that kind of stuff up front if you run just a single motor, front or back. Very powerful off the line. I definitely did a race with the Rev 1 sitting right here. Not the 72 volt, just the stock one, but it was in off-road mode. It was unlocked. And this thing just took off, and I gave him a head start as well, and this thing was out of there. One of the things I did not like on my night riding video, if you guys haven't seen that, go back, check it out. The brake light doesn't get brighter when you use the brakes. It just flashes to let people know that you're braking, but it's not really a good thing, especially when you're using your turn signals, because then your brake is not there at all. But I will say the brakes they're decent, they're kind of bright, but the turn signals are absolutely insanely bright on this bike. You got a handle back here, you got fenders, nice decent sized chain ring, but let's be real, you're not gonna be pedaling this bike after 30 miles an hour. It's gonna feel like you're ghost pedaling. But that's one of the hugest cons I think of this bike is the pedaling on it. Like the sensitivity of whatever they put in here might be great to some of you guys if you use like lower modes that doesn't take off so fast, but if you want all the power out of the bike and you barely move the pedals, this thing took off so fast. And if you're just trying to get a drink of your water and you're just coming up to a light and it just takes off on you because your feet moved and you're not even trying to pedal, that's a scary situation, especially if you can go dart out in traffic or something like that. So just be safe, especially if you get this for your kids or something like that. Another thing I did not like on this bike is I'm not a big fan of the tires. The tires are kind of garbage to me. I'd rather seen like the Rev 1 tires, because on certain situations when I'm riding this bike on certain roads, especially like going over a freeway where it has like the zigzag lines on the road, this will catch it and the bike will like catch those lines and it will go back and forth. It will skate back and forth, and it's a very scary feeling. But when you're actually going fast on this bike, feels great. I will say it is definitely heavier than your standard bike. The front feels absolutely like a tank. I can barely lift this front up. You're not gonna be really like jumping off curbs too much with this bike compared to some other bikes I've had. But I do like the fact that this bike came all together. The front wheel was already on there. I had to do very minimal stuff. I just had to put the handlebars and the display on and the pedals, I think that was it. And everything was ready to go. So I like that. Overall, you can't complain. I know a lot of people are gonna say the bike's expensive. We already talked about it many times. $3,400, yeah, it's expensive, but if you get a one-time bike and you're a car guy like me, you're gonna appreciate how this thing looks. Or maybe you don't like it because it doesn't look like an e-bike and you think you're gonna get attention from the authorities. But as long as you're following your legal speed limit when you see a cop and everything like that, I don't think you're gonna have a problem. But just keep that in mind that this is gonna catch some attention from police or people that you don't want looking at you, or maybe you want that attention from people. You riding around your neighborhood, there's not gonna be a bike like this. I think the only thing that sucks right now is if you guys wanna place your order with one, it's gonna take forever to get it. I think October to November is when you're gonna get one. So just keep that in mind if you guys are gonna buy this bike. I don't get any affiliate, I don't make money off of this, but I will put links down in the description so you guys can go buy one. $1,700 right now. You gotta do half the payment now. Then when the bike is ready to ship out, you pay the rest of it when it's ready. But yeah, you'll get it right before Christmas, and this is fantastic. I love it. It's something I really want to keep. Hopefully I'm able to keep it with all the bikes that I keep getting in and out. We just got another one sitting over here in the corner. So if I had a storage unit, this is definitely a bike that I would just want to keep off to the corner because it's just one of a kind. I can't say anything else about it other than it's just badass. The only thing I might change out is maybe the pedals. Just put some cool LED pedals on here. I don't know. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully this helped you out. And I really appreciate you guys watching the channel. You guys are the true MVPs. I'll definitely have more content. And if you really do want more content, maybe there's some other stuff you guys can drop a comment on. Let me know what you guys want me to test on this bike. And I'll also show you this in a picture on my Instagram with taking this thing off so you guys can see how it looks like. So make sure to follow me on Instagram as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Let's pedal backwards next to the cop on the Rumble Motors bike.